Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with Navy veteran, experienced educator, and author, Dr. Patric Leedom. He is an experienced educator with a doctorate in curriculum and instruction and over 24 years of teaching experience at Shawnee State University. He holds a master's degree in Montessori Philosophy and Methods and played a key role in founding 2 Montessori schools. In addition to his academic career, he has a rich background in the U.S. Navy, where he achieved the rank of E-9 Master Chief Quartermaster and led a career spanning 24 years. His extensive work in both education and military settings has given him deep insights into leadership, curriculum development, and the improvement of the education systems in the U.S. He depicts his efforts to understand and participate in his meaning of life. It's all in his book. Enjoy this story. Well, hey, it's great to meet you, sir. Thank you for taking a minute out for the show.
Oh, I'm delighted to do that.
So before we get into your work and your mission and all of the great things that you've done in your life, I want to begin with something I know we're getting tired of, but it was such a big moment in our lives, the COVID-19 pandemic about 4.5 years ago. How did you survive that time period, and how has it changed the way that you do things now?
Okay, I'll tell you, I retired about 8 years ago, and I live in Twin Towers, an old folks' home, and so it affected me. I was trying to take courses at the University of Cincinnati, and when the COVID broke out, I decided that was a dangerous thing to do. So I've stopped taking courses there.
So talk to me a little bit about your career before retirement and what you're doing now. And to do that, I want to get to the heart of who you are and what you've done. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of 3rd grade students at Career Day, and one of the kids is curious and says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
Well, I have 2 tracks. I've been an educator for over 50 years, and I also was in the submarine Navy for 24 years and promoted to E-9 Master Chief. I started my career in education when I was 30 years old. I'd been living in San Francisco in the 60s, and of course that was a terrible time up there with the hippies and everything. So when the chance was to help start an alternative Montessori school, I took it. I worked for them for 7 years, and during that time I got a master's degree in Montessori Philosophy and Methods. Then the public schools in Cincinnati hired me. I kindergarten, 1st grade combination for 2 years. I told the principal the kindergartners were being dragged along, so I split. I did all-day Montessori kindergarten for 5 more years. I took a short break in the Navy. I came back and I got a doctorate in curriculum and instruction with a strong strand of corporate training. So I was a corporate trainer for 4 years. I wrote the manuals for the workers. I worked the manuals for the instructors. I helped set up the Japanese quality team module. Then when I got my doctorate, I was hired by Shawnee State University in the education department. I taught primarily freshmen and seniors. And I did that for 24 years. During that time, I also worked for the Ohio Board of Education. I was a Praxis 3 assessor of brand new teachers. When they changed that over to a 4-year program, I joined the Ohio Board of Regents that oversees all of the colleges and universities. And the way they wanted to do make all of the colleges equivalent in the base courses. And the way we did it is faculty committee would look at the syllabi and see if it met the standards. Well, I developed a reputation for turning down the most syllabi. And when my handler told me, I thought, oh, is that a slap on the wrist or is that an attaboy? 6 weeks later, the head regent called me in her office. He said, "We like how you're doing it. Would you please do a workshop and tell everybody else how to do it?" Because what I was doing is the Board of Regents had like 7 standards for a course. I needed to see in the syllabus that every single student had interacted with all 7 standards. If I didn't see it, I turned it down. So that was exciting. I retired. The state teacher retirement system changed its rules when I was 76 years old. So I came back to Cincinnati. University of Cincinnati hired me to teach teaching and learning in a diverse classroom. Out of that, I have a college textbook, companion reader for any teacher, professor, administrator that wants to make their courses more multiculturally relevant. So I retired, I guess, at 79, 80. I'm 84 and a half right now. I've had an exciting life. I've had about 30 careers, but I don't know. Okay, I'll stop for a minute.
Yeah, no, that's great. No, so when you were in the third grade, what was your dream growing up? Was it always education?
No, I probably wanted to be an engineer or an architect, um, but no, I went to live with my father when I was 14 in Los Angeles, and so then he was a great inspiration to me. He was a very well-known newspaper reporter, and he taught me how to listen very carefully to people. And he was very active in the community. He was president of 5 different churches and fellowships. And so I moved over to social things. I worked for the Quakers American Friends Service Committee. I worked for them for 5 years. I did slum clearance and mental hospitals, and I did 6 weeks in San Quentin prison working on therapy. So I've just done quite a number of things.
Yeah. So it was always kind of something that was around you that made you want to be in education. I mean, what were some of the seeds, the foundational ones that were planted into you that's helped you have such a long career in education?
Well, I was at San Francisco State University uh, getting a master's degree, and then we had a huge student strike back in 68, 69. So I left there. I went to Northwestern University and tried to start a doctorate, and that didn't work. But I wound up in Cincinnati, and they were just starting an alternative private Montessori school. So I joined them. And for the first year and a half, I really didn't have a salary. I just simply moved into the building. And I got my master's in Montessori. And then the public schools hired me for the 7 years. I decided that working with children or human beings of any age was where my calling was. So I taught in factories. I taught in the Navy. You know, once I came back and got my doctorate, then I worked for Shawnee State University for 24 years.
Of all of the people in your life, who's been kind of a hero or an inspiration in your work?
I went to military school for 3 years, and Pete Derrick was the commandant, and he took me under his wings, and he helped me a lot in life and was a model. And when I was having trouble with my doctorate in Northwestern, he wrote me a letter telling me how Lincoln had failed at many things before he succeeded. So that was a big help to me. My father was also a major key figure in my life.
So let me ask you this. If you can meet anybody alive on the planet right now that you find utterly fascinating, spend a little time with them, who would it be?
Oh boy, on the planet right now. Well, I like Barack Obama. I think
Yeah.
he's done an awful lot of good. Um, Tom Brokaw was a newsman, but we're the same age, and I would have liked to spend time with him. Um, Gee, those are two I can think of immediately.
Those are great ones. Those are absolutely great ones. I would love to join you on that
Yeah.
voyage. So let me ask you this. What has been kind of the motivator for you all these years to maintain an education? It's been, there's been so many changes, especially now. It's become it's become a different platform. It's changed over the years. What has maintained that fervor in you to be in this field?
Well, I want to make everybody's born with a different ability, potential. And I want to help whatever individual it is to get the most out of their things. I'm deeply concerned about the current education system because since No Child Left Behind, we've stopped teaching critical thinking. We stopped teaching how to deeply process. I taught freshman class for 23 years, And about the fifth week, I say, it doesn't seem like you guys know very much. They say, well, we were taught to memorize to get high scores on the test, but nobody told us to remember anything. I said, you mean somebody had to tell you to remember? So most of my courses, I put an essay final, so they had to think. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. What was the first moment, student, or that first formidable year, or whatever, in your career where you saw the twinkle in somebody's eye and you knew that this was your calling? Was there a moment like that?
Um, well, I taught Montessori kindergarten, and I also turned it into a family learning center. And well, Stephanie Earls comes to mind. She was in my middle reading group, and the parents had bought all five workbooks, short A, short I, short E, short U. And halfway, like in February, she finally saw the light go off and she understood how words went together. So on Monday, I gave her the first workbook. She completed it totally, no errors. Tuesday, I gave her the second workbook with more letters. She did it perfectly all the way. By Friday, she had finished it. And wow. So the funny story was that I got a knock on my door the next year, and they said, "We need to talk to you. What did you do to Stephanie Earls?" I said, "What do you mean? What did I do to Stephanie Earls?" "Well, we're third graders, and she's a first grader, and every Friday we have spelling bees, and she beats us every time, and we don't like it."
Wow. So
Yeah.
let me ask you this. Of all of the things that you've accomplished in your career and you've done up to this point, what are you the proudest of?
I'm proudest of working with students, with my college students. I've worked very hard. One student lost her job through no fault of her own. I bought her textbooks $600 so she could, come back the next semester. One student was dirt poor, and she had to go to student teaching. And I called her out and I said, "You don't have clothes, you don't have the money. If you don't mind, I will buy your clothes for you." And I did. And another student said, "Dr. Leedom, I've got a problem." She said, I'm out of money, but I still have a semester to go." I said, "Come with me to the financial aid office." I said, "Stephanie is an A+ student. She deserves to be helped." The director said, "Would you teach in underperforming school?" She said, "Yes." She said, "Okay, you got the money." So, well, and then I had a student who was living with her grandmother. She called mother, and the grandmother died the fall of her pre-student teaching. And I went to the funeral, and Shawnee was devastated. She grabbed me and started crying, and I whispered in her ear. I said, "Shawnee, Shauna, your grandmother's is dead, but I am here. And you will graduate this June, and I will walk every step of the way with you." And she did, and she's been a marvelous teacher ever since.
Wow. So talk to me a little bit about your book, I Wish to Live My Life Deliberately. Give me kind of a backdrop.
Um, well, I've written journals off and on over my life, and I just wanted to enjoy that and to write that. What the way I visualize the book is, it's like flying a plane the long way down a mountain range. And so what's in the book is primarily just the peaks, the things that be interesting to other people, with a few valleys. Um, so I enjoyed writing. I guess I primarily wrote it for myself.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Everyone out there throughout your life has had a perception or an idea of you, family, friends, students, colleagues, but you've run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Um, I'm a person that is a people helper. I'm very kind. Um, I uh, I also have had the vision that life is very precious, and so carpe diem, make the best of each day. You just don't know about tomorrow. Um, My students write to me that I've been very inspirational for them, and I've been a very kind person. I've helped lift people up. I've helped people believe in themselves. When I started teaching college, I realized college students need a lot of support, like some of the kindergartners need. So yeah, it's a very positive thing. I was married 3 times, but I picked control freaks. They were hurt as children, so they hurt me back. And now I have a partner that's the most loving person in the world. So she's just a kid. She's only 73 years old. And a very positive image. I think sometimes there are forces in the universe that sometimes watch out over me and have helped guide me or whatever. So I've been pretty successful in life.
So if anyone wants to pick up the book, reach out to you, learn more about what you've done over your wonderful career, how can they do that?
Barnes and Noble and Amazon do sell it.
Okay.
It comes in hardcover, softcover, and Kindle.
Excellent. Dr. Leedom, this has been wonderful. Thank you for the work that you've done. Thank you for your time and story today, and best of luck in the future.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure talking with you.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. Our esteemed theme music was composed and produced by the great E.E. Pointer of Kansas City's River Cow Orchestra. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.